What's up, YouTube? Long time no see. This is Gabe from the Spinecrackers podcast, and today I wanted to start off the new year ish. I know it's late January at this point, but here we are. One of my New Year's resolutions is to make more videos for this channel, upload more things to this channel, as well as, which we'll get into in a minute, some more reviews over on the Spinecrackers podcast Patreon page, which is available to you for as little as $2 a month. You get Discord access and access to the full episodes from the podcast, as well as bonus reviews and things like that, which, as I say, we're going to be committed to doing more of in 2024. But today, what I wanted to do, just to kind of kick it off, is talk about my sort of book and book-related item acquisitions in over the course of the holiday season, some of which are gifts, some I picked up for myself, some I guess that's the only two sort of categories, really. So I'm going to start with the two items that I received that are not books, but are book related. So one is, where is it? Here it is this lovely, I like a good bookmark, this lovely leather bookmark from my wife, which is, what is it, embossed when it's leather? I'm not sure. But it says, "To many more chapters together." This is the second leather book mark that she's gotten me, one in commemoration of the founding of the Spinecrackers podcast, and this one this year, which is just lovely. I love these little leather kind of durable bookmarks, and so my current practice now is to have the Spinecrackers bookmark in the book that I'm reading for the show, whatever that happens to be, and this one in the book that I'm reading for my personal elucidation and pleasure, which currently, a bit of a preview here, is I've caved finally, and I am seeing what all the fuss is and has been about the secret history. I know this book is obviously not new, but dark academia, whatever, popular aesthetic, I feel like less so these days. I don't see that so much going on, but wanted to give it a shot. I'm about 200 pages in so far, and I'm enjoying it. It's very easy reading, sort of a page turner, if you will. And the review of that will be up on the Patreon when I finish. And I've got a couple more in front of it that I've already that books that I finished reading and videos that I have to record. Okay. The other gift that I received, also from my wife, is in this nice little box, and it is a book embosser, a sort of ex libris stamp, which, if you're familiar with, that sort of thing, you put one of the pages from the book in here, and there's a design in here with your name from the library of, or ex libris in Latin, and you emboss the page of the book. I've always wanted one of these. I thought it was a very thoughtful gift. The funny thing is, I got her almost the exact same thing for Christmas this year. Hers is an ink stamp rather than the full embosser item, but the same idea. And we didn't talk about this. No one asked for this gift, so it's sort of funny that we both wound up getting each other almost the same thing this year as one gift. So this is really lovely. I've been on a tear. It's so much fun to just fucking squeeze this thing on the page of a book. Now I'm going to put a question to you. That reminds me. For book embossing along these lines, what page of the book do you reckon, dear viewer, ought to be embossed? So here's an example, and I've already made the decision here. So, there it is. But and I'll talk about this book in a minute. But this is a book that I received as a gift from Matt, one of the other hosts of the podcast, when I was home over the holidays. It is George Simenon's journals from a period of his life, or notebooks, when he was in his late 50s, sort of reflections on getting older and starting to feel one's age catching up with one, as it were. I didn't know that this text even existed. If you know anything about me or the show, you know I'm a bit of a Simenon evangelist. One of, if not my favorite authors of all time. Severely underrated. Um, and so I didn't know. I mean, obviously that he has hundreds of books. I think I forget the exact number. It might but I did not know about this sort of notebook's existence, let alone that it was collected in this sort of way. So this was a lovely gift from Matt, who I thank again. But in terms of embossing, the real important question here. So a lot of books have, as far as I can see, two page options for where you might place an embossing stamp. Sometimes they'll have a page like this. That's just the sort of blank title page, right? And then they will often have another page, also with the title and the author, that looks something like this, right? And as you can see, this is the page that I've chosen in this case to emboss. I don't know how I feel about it. I assumed when I first got this that there had to be some kind of a convention for this. And, people have been embossing books for thousands of years. Maybe not. That's probably an exaggeration. Many hundreds of years. And I couldn't find anything about what the appropriate page to do it on is. So leave in the comments your suggestions about which page. Let's say this is we'll call this the cover page versus the title page. Which one do you think is best for embossing? Okay, so that's when I was old, the Simenon collected journals. I started reading this, and I haven't actually really started, but I just glanced at the preface, and I just found it to be so funny and so Simenon, and so I'll just read this. The preface says, in 1960, 1961, and 1962, for personal reasons, or for reasons I don't know myself, I began feeling old, and I began keeping notebooks. I was nearing the age of 60. Soon, I shall be 67, and I have not felt old for a long time. I no longer feel a need to write in notebooks, and those that I do not use, I've given to my children. That's the whole preface. So he went through this phase where he was sort of feeling his age and wrote in notebooks reflecting on that, and then stopped feeling that way, and so stopped writing in the notebooks. I just find that to be so funny. Okay, let's we'll continue on with the nonfiction books here that I have, and then we'll get into the fiction. I got two gifts from my father, who is on a bit of a, in the era of the Republican presidential primary, Trump running for re-election. He's sort of re-engaging with politics, and has these grand ideas about saving democracy. So here's a book that he gave me about that topic. Don't know what it's about. I don't know who this is. I don't know where he found it. But here it is. So let's see how to save democracy here in this one. And then this other one of his other sort of bailiwicks recently has been bringing back sortition, which I find an interesting idea. If you don't know, sortition is this is the practice for political office that they used in ancient Greece, for example, where all eligible citizens, over a certain age or whatever, their names are put into a lottery, and political office is determined by the draw of the lottery. And you usually serve for a year or two in the office, and then your name is removed from the lottery for the future, so you can't be reselected, as opposed to what we know today as, elections. So this is, I suppose, an argument for bringing back sortition a little. It has the sort of air of kind of a little a pamphlet, so that'll be interesting. I'm open to the idea, frankly, but I won't say too much more about that. Okay, that's a debate for another day, I guess. Two philosophy texts about topics that I'm sort of working on, papers about for work. One is Taking Rights Seriously by Ronald Dworkin, the well-known political and legal theorist. This is a book about rights. I'm working on a large project now dealing with the concept of rights and specifically parental rights in an educational setting, that I'm hoping this will throw some additional light on. Haven't read it yet. I've read some other of Dworkin's work, mostly essays. So I think this will be interesting. This is sort of a seminal text in legal circles, specifically about how to conceptualize rights. Similarly, I have the third person standpoint, Morality, Respect, and Accountability by Stephen Darwall. This is another kind of important text in the history of normative theory, moral theory. This is an argument, as far as I understand it. Haven't read it yet. Don't know a ton about Darwall, although I know this book is important. But it's an attempt to answer the historically vexing philosophical question: why be good, right? Why do things that are morally correct? Even if we know what morally correct things are, what reason compels people, or what reasons are on offer to motivate people to do the right thing? Why bother, right? Why do the right thing? And from my understanding, this book, or the second person standpoint, did I say third? I forget. This book is an attempt to answer that question. So I think this will be interesting. And the final nonfiction book, I believe, is the Bloom's Modern Critical Interpretations collection on Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. Now, if you, again, know anything about me or the show, you'll know that I'm no fan of Bloom's critical approach, but I find that he certainly had talent as an editor, and this is a collection of essays by a variety of scholars, so I thought that it might be profitable. Haven't read Crime and Punishment, of course, but when I do, I'll have this to read along with it. Maybe that'll be on the list for this year. Maybe I'll make a video about books that I plan to read for the year. I don't really have a plan at this point. I'm just kind of following my whims, but we'll see. A few of these that I'm going to talk about today are certainly on the list. Okay. So I showed the Simenon notebook collection earlier. I also picked up at my hometown bookstore when I was home for the holiday this nice little edition of Maigret Goes to School by George Simenon. I had not really seen these little editions. I haven't read this one yet either, but so that was part of it. But I love picking up different editions of Simenon wherever I see them. And I didn't know that there was ever a television adaptation of any of these stories either. So I may attempt to track that down at some point. But yeah, lovely little edition. I love the art. I love these old, sort of mystery style paperbacks. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the next two, I'll just do these back to back. The next two I picked up. My wife and I went to New Zealand for a work trip in early December for a conference, and I found there were a number of nice bookstores that we saw there in Auckland, but unfortunately my packing space was severely limited, so I was only able to pick up 2 books while I was there, and I don't think either of them are sort of unique New Zealand editions or anything like that, which is something of a shame. But one of them is Gorillas by V.S. Naipaul. I don't know much about Naipaul, frankly, but I know the name, and I know that he is respected in literary circles, and it's a name that's sort of, you hear in the ether, but I don't know a lot of people that have actually read his work or know much about him. So I figured I might as well give Naipaul a shot, and so this is what they had. It seems to be a sort of colonial, post-colonial, revolutionary, kind of Caribbean story. So that'll be interesting. The other book that I picked up in New Zealand is this collection of novellas, Open Doors, and 3 novellas, excuse me. So I'm not sure if this is 4 novellas or a novel and 2 novellas. Okay, yeah, so the first one is about 80 pages, and then there's three other shorter novellas. So Open Doors is, I suppose, the longer of the four, by Leonardo Sciascia. We did an episode for the show on another of Sciascia's short novels, a novella, a while back. He was a Sicilian sort of crime writer who wrote about organized crime, the mafia, and things like that. I enjoyed the first book of his that we reviewed, the name of which is escaping me currently. The Day of the Owl, I think it was called. And I am excited to read more of his work. Definitely, sort of some similar vibes to someone like Simenon, a kind of elevated literary crime writing, which I find to be fascinating for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, next. Is this all? Yeah, I think this is it. Oh, I should say those two books of philosophy, the Dworkin and the Stephen Darwall, were gifts from my mother. She just asked me to tell her some books that I wanted, and so I did. A book that she gave me, actually, that I didn't ask for, but that looks interesting, is this. It is called Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. I had never heard of this book. I had never heard of Paul Lynch, but sucker that I am for it's from last year, 2023, but it, as you can see on the cover, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize last year. So, that's more or less enough for me to warrant giving it a shot. He's written some other stuff, none of which that I've heard of. Red Sky in the Morning, The Black Snow, Grace, and Beyond the Sea. He's an Irish novelist and apparently takes Ireland and its history as his subject matter generally as well, including this book. As I say, don't know much about the plot, but I'm excited to check it out. It's got a blurb from Ron Rash on the back there too, so that's interesting. Okay, next. Let's see. I'll do this next. Next is a book that I picked up from my local hometown bookstore again as well. I think all of the ones that are left, except for maybe one, I got there. It's The Simple Past by Driss Kraibi, would be my attempt there. Apologies if that's wrong. Know very little about this. I picked this up just because if I'm at a used bookstore, I more or less grab any NYRB texts that are there that I don't already own. That's basically my practice. I believe this is about a sort of French colonial North Africa, I think Morocco specifically, and I don't know much about the rest of the book, but when I review it, it'll be on the Patreon. Next, I have Maggie, A Girl of the Streets by Stephen Crane, which I picked up again at my hometown bookstore. And I picked this up. I've never read it. I don't know much about it. I don't think I'd ever heard of it. But one of my other practices is to always pick up these lovely Norton Critical editions when I see them. They're really exhaustive and have a lot of interesting and helpful context for whatever the text is that they are sort of showcasing. The actual text of this, novella really is only about 60 pages. And then, of course, afterwards, there's, sources and maps and contemporary reviews and essays, as well as more recent academic work on the text and on Crane. So I really think these are excellent additions to kind of really give you a fuller picture of whatever text is whatever the text is in question. As I say, I don't know much about the actual story. My understanding is that it is known as being sort of an early kind of naturalist text in American literary history, showing the life of a poor girl, Maggie, perhaps even a sex worker. I'm not exactly sure, but we will see. I'll probably read this one relatively soon, especially given that it's so short. Okay, last two are a couple James Fenimore Cooper novels from the Leatherstocking Tales series. One is The Prairie, and one is The Pathfinder. Um, I have read no Cooper. I don't think. I don't think I ever had to read Last of the Mohicans, for example. I know that's a commonly assigned text in high schools and things like that, but not for me. So I suppose um, this will be the winter of Cooper if I want to dive into these. I know that there's an order to the Leatherstocking Tales, but I'm unclear about how important that order is. So I've ordered the other three volumes of the Leatherstocking Tales and those are on their way. I'll probably just work through them in chronological order of the story rather than the order they were published in, but I'm not sure. If you have a strong opinion on that question, let me know in the comments. I think that's it. Those are my book and book related gifts and acquisitions over the course of the 2023 holiday season. I hope you had a lovely one, and I hope you will check back here for future videos and listen to the Spinecrackers podcast. We did our um, end of the year awards, best worst of episode, which ran about 3.5 hours and was a lot of fun. And we have a new episode that'll be coming out, I think, tomorrow on Nicholson Baker's Vox. So do check that out. I'll leave links and stuff in the description. And I will see you again, hopefully, very shortly. Thanks a lot.